Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking all about the 4 main psychic abilities and figuring out which one comes most naturally to you. I find, I've done it as well, that there's certain ones that we want to try to be able to do, and sometimes it can be really helpful to first figure out which one just even comes naturally to us, because that's going to be the easiest one for us to communicate with spirit and or deepen our intuition, and then over time we can work on the other ones that don't come quite as naturally. So a little bit of groundwork. What I believe, I do call them psychic abilities on perfect. That's interesting. I don't call them psychic gifts. Now, you can call them psychic gifts if you want. I'm just going to share the reason why I do that is because I believe we all have these. I believe these are all natural abilities. I believe that they are just extensions of our normal physical senses that we have. And I do believe we all have the ability to strengthen all of these. However, some of them we're just naturally more inclined to. And then over time, as we work more on our intuition and as we work more just energetically or with our clearing and whatever, as we're expanding as just a human, I think the other ones, they all start to just expand naturally. I think we can work on them, but I do think there's also just this natural level of expansion that is sort of happening as we go down this spiritual path. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Clairaudient. Now this one, it's clear hearing, so it's tied to our hearing sense. And so this will be if you're someone who hears spirit, basically. However, I didn't realize I was hearing spirit. This is actually probably my second most natural one, and I didn't realize at first. I do often hear, like tones, or like ringing. Quick tip for you. One of my mentors taught me this, is when you hear the ringing in your ear, a lot of times people say, oh, spirit has a message for me, which is probably true, assuming you don't have some physical ear ringing that needs to be checked out. However, I think when I hear that ear ringing, I don't think ear ringing. I am switching my words today. It's because I'm sort of like half being normal human, half channeling right now. When I hear that tone or that ringing in my ear, I don't think, oh, spirit has a literal message for me. Like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I used to, and that drove me crazy because I could never figure it out. What I do now is, okay, spirit has a message for me, but I can receive it in my body. It's almost like I imagine that I'm downloading the message into my body, and then it can come up however it needs to come up over the next few days. Maybe it's like something I just need to become aware of, but first I ground it into my body. So I'll actually put a hand on my heart, sometimes a hand kind of like on my stomach or like my kind of womb space. And when I hear that ringing, I take a deep breath and I acknowledge it, and I just focus on that for a minute. And I'm like, okay, I received this message fully. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Something like that. But I purposely touch my body. In my mind, I'm grounding it in. That's just a thing that I like to do. Okay, so it can be ear ringing. It can be literally hearing spirit, like actual voices. I personally have only heard my name called maybe once or twice, and then as I'm waking up, I swear I heard someone talking. But I don't hear spirit with my physical ears often. Also music playing. So I have 2 kids and we have a sound machine that's always going. I don't know if you've ever had this, but when there's some sort of machine running, like a sound machine, and it sounds like it's talking to you or it's playing music, it could happen even without the sound machine. Sometimes I swear I hear country music or an orchestra when I'm laying in bed, and I'm it's sounds like a radio. It's almost like you're dialing in to a random radio station. It's what is going on? That's clairaudience. It's just your hearing you're hearing more than just what our normal physical hearing sort of is. The other way that clairaudience works with me is I will hear spirit as a thought in my head. This is what I didn't realize was clairaudience. I don't know if everyone thinks this is clairaudience, but when I'm like connecting to, say, my spirit guides or my higher self, whatever, I'm hearing it like it's my thoughts speaking in my head. But it's not like a thought download. It's like literally the words. Like I could tell you what the words are. So I'm not hearing it with my physical ears, but it's like I count that as hearing in my head. So that's another way to kind of think about it. If this is one of your kind of natural ways, feel free to put in the comments how you, what clairaudience has meant to you, or if you're like, oh my God, none of that happens, let us know, because it's just fun to talk about. Okay. Number 2, clairvoyance. So clairvoyance, I would say personally, is my least strong psychic ability, and that's seeing, clear seeing. So you could be seeing things like literally with your eyes open, seeing spirit, like spirits. I do think I saw this as a kid. I generally don't anymore. However, I have had like the rare instance, like laying in bed at night and then looking up and seeing like a floating head. It only happened once for me, thank goodness. And me, you know what I do this is years ago. Now I might try to talk to it or something, but years ago when I saw that, I literally just put the blanket over my head and was like, not happening. And then I think I saw like walking through a house. It's always when I'm like staying other places. It's like there's a lot of stuff that I feel like, I don't know if you've noticed that when you go other places that just kind of get attracted to you. But there was a dog that looked just like my dog, but it wasn't. She was in her crate. That happened one time. But generally I don't see things actually with my physical eyes, typically. So it could be you see with your eyes. We're talking about clairvoyance. It could also be when you close your eyes, you see, people will say it's like their third eye that they're seeing through. Like they'll see it up kind of like right here. It could be you seeing it like a movie. So literally like it looks like you're watching a movie. Again, typically this isn't how I interact with spirit. It has happened randomly, but this is not my like normal state of being. This is the one though that everyone wants. Everyone wants to be clairvoyant and see everything, because when you see it, you believe it. I just saw something behind me. Speaking of clairvoyance, see if you saw that. However, they're all great. So I just want to kind of say that before I keep going, is one is not better than the other. They just all are. They are just all extensions, and you are not less psychic because one of like you don't see spirit. You know, you're not less psychic. Whatever. They're just what they are. They are just what they are. Well, we are all wired the way we're meant to be wired. So just try not to get down on yourself if you're like, oh my God, I never get to experience that. Instead of doing that, focus on the ones that you are naturally good at. And I truly believe the ones that are not our strengths will just expand and grow and get better. So you could also, the clairvoyance could be when you close your eyes, you could see images. So it might not be a movie. It might just be like symbols and images. This is also, so for me, when I do see things, me and my friend, what do we call them? Thought images. I forget what we call it, something like that. But it's as if I were to say to you, okay, imagine a purple giraffe with neon green stripes. Can you imagine that? So I can imagine that, but I'm not literally like seeing it as if I was looking at a TV screen. However, another way to see clairvoyant images is the same as when you're imagining. So, you know, you're daydreaming and it's like, or you're thinking back on like a past memory. Like you can like, so, you know, say I'm thinking like my sister's just about to have a baby. So I'm thinking back, okay, when I first went into labor, like I can imagine with my first kid, horrible back labor. I was on the floor with that first contraction. Like I can imagine the minute I can see myself on the floor. But when I see it, I'm imagining it. I'm not literally like seeing it like a movie. So that, in my mind, also counts as clairvoyant. Okay, number 3, claircognizant. This one is super interesting because I think a lot of people are claircognizant, which is like clear knowing. But it's like it's harder to like convince yourself that you're actually getting a message with this, because you're just like, I don't know, I just know. And it's like, okay, well, how do you know? Did you see it? Did you hear it? Did you like feel it? It's like, no, I just know. So I think this can be one of the harder ones if this is your strength, because you just like know things and you're like, I don't know why I know it, I just know it. And it's not like with Clairaudient where you might get like a whole like paragraph or a sentence. You just like all of a sudden you just know, and you know maybe if something's a good idea or a bad idea, and it's not like a gut feeling, it's just like, I just know. So I think it can be tricky, but I just want to affirm for you, if this is you, you do know. Like, that is a real way of interacting with spirit. And it's like a direct download. You're just directly getting like that whole piece of information. You're not receiving it in like a sentence. You're just receiving it as like a chunk of information. And then you just immediately have this like epiphany. You know, a lot of people will say when they're driving or when they're in the shower, they're able to just like get this like download of information, and they just know something. And that's claircognizant. It's like, again, it's hard to wrap our heads around it, I think, especially when you have to like relay that information to someone, say in your family, and you're like, I just know that's a good idea, I just know that's a bad idea, or I just know whatever. The other person's like, okay, well, how? And you're like, I don't know, I just do. But I'm going to say, trust that. If that's your strength, like, that's awesome. Just trust it and then see what happens. Because most of the times, if you don't trust it, and then later on you're like, I should have trusted that. Okay, last big one is clairsentience. So this is the clear feeling. I find this is definitely my other strength. This is definitely my first, most natural ability. I think this is a lot of our first most natural abilities, especially the people that end up getting drawn to my classes. I think we're all drawn to the teacher that we need. Same with me. So I might be a little biased in saying this is like most normal. It's just because for the people who come to me, this has been like their biggest and most natural strength. And it's clear feeling. So if you feel like you resonate with being an empath or highly sensitive, you probably feel like this is your most natural ability. You can probably walk into a room and you can tell, like, you can feel whether there's tension there from whoever was in it. Like if there's people that are, milling around, it's like you can tell like there's tension between them, or you can tell it's like lighthearted. You can be extra sensitive in many ways. You can be extra sensitive to the hot and cold, like those physical feelings. You probably are really good at, like, if you have something on your mind or a decision, you feel it in your body, which can be difficult sometimes. But sometimes, like, it could come across, you might be more prone to anxiety and just heightened levels of feeling. I know I'm typically pretty like baseline in my emotions and everything now from all the work I've done. However, when I feel a little off, whether it's feeling like anxiety or feeling like just like something's icky or wrong, it's like that tells me there's something I need to address. So it's also a way of knowing, like, maybe it's a decision that has to be made. For me, it's usually like there's something that needs to be worked through and not just left alone. When it's left alone and you're very naturally clairsentient, that's when we can start getting more pains and more kind of like medical things that maybe don't make sense, more headaches, more just aches and pains. But because it's like you're taking on all those things and you're holding them in your body and not letting them go. I can put a meditation, I think I have it on YouTube, in the comments for, like, if you feel like you're an empath. I have a really good meditation to help clear stuff away. But yeah, clairsentient, you're just really good at feeling. You can tell in your body if something's a good idea or a bad idea usually. And you can tell if someone's upset, and you can really understand how they feel, almost to a detriment. It's like this one, I do think people have to be a little careful with, of like, where do I, where do they start and where do I end? Because it's very easy for us to take on other people's junk, and it's easy for them to give it to us because we're like, oh, I can feel, you can just feel it and you understand and you empathize so deeply that it's, you have to, in my opinion, be really good about your own kind of energetic boundaries and not letting anyone in, but just knowing, okay, if I've picked something up from someone, I need to like release that back. And it could be as easy as just saying, okay, anything that's not mine, I release it right now. Done. I do have a whole course on that, but we're not going to get into that. One quick tip that I do like to do if I feel like I'm still connected to someone, like say I gave someone a Reiki session, or I just had dinner with a friend and they like unloaded a lot of their emotional stuff on me. When I got home, if I wasn't going to go through like a bunch of other tools with my pendulum, I will wash my hands with soap and cold water, and I will just say like, okay, I'm clearing off and I'm disconnecting the energy between me and whoever, you know, sending anything back with love and clearing anything that needs to be cleared. And I wash my hands, and that for me helps me like disconnect their energy. So it's kind of an easy, like normal human thing you can do. Yeah, so those are the 4 main ones. There are like so much more than that. The other 2 big ones, I'm not going to go into a lot, but are like heightened smell and heightened taste. People can like literally taste when spirits are nearby, or it's like you can taste energy. So the same way someone might feel that icky energy in a room, some people can actually taste that, or they can smell, you know, a certain spirit, like say like your uncle comes in and you smell like cigars, maybe he used to smoke cigars, I don't know. And you can smell that. Some people, again, it's just your extended versions of our physical senses, but some people are just naturally more heightened in those in those areas. We're clearing some stuff. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. I would love to hear, where do you fall? What comes most naturally to you? Are you working towards one of them? What do you feel like you have none of? And then I'm also going to put a link below. I'm going to have a free 3-part little series coming up where we do some experiences to help release any fears about deepening your intuition and opening to spirit, and really just calling in your spirit team, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. So I will put that below, but I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one.